Insomniac Miles Morales is a character that I've made plenty of content on in the past, and I wanted to make some again. I've been recently doing a lot of Could They Survive series, and I felt that it was only right to try adding Insomniac Miles Morales into the Arkham universe. I honestly thought that this would be fun due to the fact that we don't really know how most of them would translate, and I've already done a video specifically talking about how I think Arkham Batman would do in the entirety of the Insomniac Spider-Man universe. So I wanted to flip the role, but not use the main Spider-Man. So let's actually talk about what I really would think could possibly happen in this situation like this. If we honestly just talk about something like Miles Morales' abilities in general, obviously he has all of the base Spider-Man abilities with a few little extras like his Venom abilities and the sheer just powers that he does also have that Spider-Man doesn't. Like, as I said, his Venom abilities, his invisibility, and the fact that he is fairly decently strong even compared to the likes of Insomniac Spider-Man. So there is so much that could possibly happen in this like entire world that really would be amazing to see. We're going to just drop him into the Arkham universe on the same night that Arkham Asylum would be happening and have him basically take the place of Batman and go through all of the villains and all of the people that normal Batman would have had to contend with and see how he would possibly do. Obviously, if we really get this started, this would have to start off with the character Zsasz. Obviously, Zsasz would be a fairly easy fight for someone like Miles Morales, strictly due to the fact that we already have Batman being able to take him out fairly easily, and Miles would either be able to just go up to where Batman was up on during the game and just quite literally just yeet him with his webs and move him all the way to the back, making sure that nobody gets hurt, or just literally starting off in the same place and just webbing him up instantly to incapacitate him, because there wouldn't really mainly be any reason for an actual confrontation to be happening in that specific situation. As afterwards, once we get to something like the Titan Henchmen, that's not even really too much of a threat for Miles, due to the fact of Miles' absolute insane strength compared to most of the people in the entirety of the Arkham series, and us already knowing the fact that even if he, like the Titan Henchman, try to do anything, one, Miles is fast enough to be able to evade and dodge any of his attacks, especially with his spider sense abilities. And also due to the fact that we already know that Miles is, one, stronger than the Titan Henchman, and he could always just use his Venom Blast to just completely, one, incapacitate the Titan Henchman, or just completely knock him out and take him out for the running for good. Obviously, he would encounter Joker this time, but he's obviously still like Batman, where he's not going to try killing him. So there would still be a reason for the rest of the story to go on, even though there is obviously the possibility of him just completely like webbing up Joker right there, but he wouldn't be able to completely like just he could easily do something, but we're not going to go discuss that right now. We're actually going to try having a full-on playthrough of how everything would go on. The Scarecrow fight would be extremely interesting because there are a lot of caveats to this. If Scarecrow is somehow able to get his gaze on Miles, it is a completely very one-sided fight because Miles' mental fortitude isn't up to the standard of someone like Arkham Batman. He has already dealt with things, even within his own first game, that have broken his mental fortitude down quite a bit, especially talking about things like having to deal with his own uncle betraying him, or having to lose literally his closest friend right in front of him. So if Scarecrow is able to actively get even the gaze near Miles and actively infect Miles with the fear toxin, then we actually have to talk about there's a very big problem with Miles actively having to do with it. But due to the fact that Miles has his spidey sense and his ability to just quickly evade and dodge things, he would be easily able to do any of the acrobatic maneuvers for this first Scarecrow fight, to be able to take Scarecrow down by shining the light on him. But obviously, if we have anything specifically like mist, or we have anything that isn't just having to actively either inject him or hit him with the gaze, that's just where we have actual issues with Miles actively getting touched, because Miles doesn't have the fortitude to be able to just evade it and block it out fairly easily. This would be one of those things where you just kind of have to pick and choose how exactly what you would go, because it could go either way. Miles just is, as I said, fast enough to evade it, but I don't and can't say that he would be able to completely just be able to avoid it the entire time. So that one would just be a very big issue of whether he gets hit by it or not. The next fight obviously would be a little different. This being the Bane fight. And I'm only saying this strictly because of the fact that Miles has already been easily able to beat a character like the Rhino. And Bane, I can't even know if he really compares to something of the likes of the Rhino, but in all fairness, Miles is still leagues and leagues and leagues stronger than the likes of Bane. As so, it would really just be Miles one easily able to avoid any of Bane's attacks anyways, and just literally just hitting him with his webs, making sure that he stays at a distance, which he really wouldn't even need to, and eventually just getting to the point where he's just using his Venom Blasts to actively just incapacitate these characters fairly quickly without too much of a very big problem, because while we have characters like Bane that are absolutely strong in their own right in terms of the Arkham series, they just do not compare to the likes of a character like Miles. Miles, as I've said, is able to just evade all of Bane's attacks, and it would just be able to maneuver around him so effortlessly. And even if I really just wanted to be very quick about this, it would just be something simple as Miles using his Venom Blast to completely just take Bane out for the count extremely quickly. It really wouldn't even be that much of a very big issue for him to do something like that, especially when he has things like his hollow drone, like his hollow projections that can fight alongside with him. So any of the fights that actively require like someone and having multiple like people around him, it would just be Miles using the hollow projections to be able to deal with any of the extras, and he can just have a normal one-on-one fight without having to worry about anything extra. So that's just fairly simple right there and then. As for the Scarecrow fight too, this would be a very tricky situation due to the fact that I've already said the minute Miles gets hit with Scarecrow's fear toxin, it's going to be extremely a hard-fought battle for him, because he would just be seeing things that he fears, like, and things that really would just kind of really aggravate him and irritate him, specifically talking about things like having to deal with characters like Finn's death, fearing the loss of Peter, fearing the loss of his family, fearing the loss of his friends. He would just be stuck in a very big, deep cycle about this, and it could very easily decimate Miles' mental integrity to a very high extent. But there is always the possibility that he's able to actively just somehow be able to survive that, work past it, work through it, and work out the other side a little better for it. There is like some slight chances that he's not able to do that, but if he's able to actively get past that, he's able to beat the second Scarecrow fight without too much of a hassle. But there is a very big hassle for him to actively like get to that point. And as I said, and like as I've already stated, any of the acrobatics that he would need to do to be able to like actively take down Scarecrow for each of the fights, he's got hands down locked, because he is a Spider-Man. But dealing with the fear toxin is the only thing that would actively take and really harm him for a good majority of a lot of the things that he would have to be able to do. The Harley Quin fight would be a complete and utter non-starter due to the fact that this is just Harley Quin. One, he can just use his hollow projections to be able to easily take care of any of the goons that you would have with her, and he's easily able to take out anything like the likes of Harley Quin, because these are just normal street level people. These aren't like super strength enhanced. These aren't like extremely like strong people. These are just people that Miles could easily deal with on a daily basis anyways. Yes, his mental would be kind of just screwed over, but this isn't something like the lines of, oh, these people are strong enough that if I'm not paying attention, I'm going to be able to die and lose automatically. This is just him being able to just web, incapacitate, knockout, take them down, take them out. Not too much of an issue, not too much of a problem, just completely done in no very big issue right there. Miles is just way too strong for anything of the likes of Harley to be able to actively contend with or deal with in any logical light. The third Scarecrow fight, where he has to actively fight things like the skeletons and all of those, really wouldn't be too much of an issue because he could easily beat the skeletons. And as I've said, if he's able to avoid dealing with Scarecrow completely, it's not really too much of a big issue for him to be able to just take out Scarecrow. But if he has to deal with something like facing the Scarecrow head on, getting hit by the gaze, and actively having to deal with anything like that, it's very challenging, and I mean extremely challenging for the likes of Miles. But he is just one way too strong and would most likely be able to get over any of the fear toxin effects not as easily as Batman, or like not as easily as he would like be if he was like part of the Bat fam, but just eventually probably be able to get dealing with something or just completely get devastated. That's the only two ways about it. And I could honestly just see him being able to take out Scarecrow without too much of a big hassle by this third encounter. It would just have to be something along the lines of him actively just trying his complete hardest to deal so. But once we actively get to the next fight, that's where there's going to be a lot of contention, specifically from y'all. This fight obviously being the Killer Croc fight. I'm only saying that there would be contention from y'all because I actively have heard that you guys sometimes think that, oh yeah, Killer Croc is not like weak or affected by electricity. As we've already seen in the Arkham games, that he was first seen wearing a shock collar that was subduing him to at least some extent. So he is at least affected by electricity to some format. And due to the fact that Miles 1 is way stronger than Killer Croc and nobody can tell me otherwise, he is also strictly extremely good at using his electricity. So he would just be able to electrify the water to a complete, very high standard that Killer Croc would, no matter what, be definitely affected by it, to the point that it would really probably couldn't incapacitate him and just take him out fairly quickly. But even then, Miles is able to use his webs to, one, evade Killer Croc and not even get hit by him once. And he has a spidey sense that would allow him to be able to easily avoid any of Killer Croc's attacks and be able to just sense where Killer Croc would be coming out of the water from, so it wouldn't be anything too big of an issue for him, to the point that he could easily just probably get his Venom Blast to Killer Croc directly and take him out that way. Because as we've already seen, electricity does work on him to at least some extent. You can debate as much as you want on how much that extent is, but due to that specific fact right there, Miles would be able to take that win fairly easily. A Poison Ivy fight would be somewhat challenging, strictly due to the fact of Poison Ivy's abilities and exactly how she is oriented out through in the entirety of Arkham Asylum and being amped up a little bit. But due to Miles 1 having his high agility, he would be able to evade anything that Poison Ivy would be able to throw at him, and he would probably be able to fry a lot of the plants and greenery that is around her just by using his Venom abilities and just kind of vaulting up the thing until the point that it's starting to burn a little bit, which would actively irritate Poison Ivy because she has a strong connection to those plants. And he would be able to, one, just use his webs to actively do some of the same things that Batman was doing to kind of just get Poison Ivy out of the situation she was in. And it would eventually get to the point where Miles is, one, fairly easily able to actively just take Poison Ivy out without too much of a very big hassle, just by evading and eventually doing quite literally some of the same things Batman would have had to do, minus a few things, because he's not as good of a strategist. So it would kind of just have to come after a little while of just kind of figuring out exactly what's going on. When we get to the fight with the Titan version of Joker, this won't really obviously be, again, too much of a very big fight because no one in the Arkham universe has strength equivocal to anything that this like Spider-Man, Miles, or any of the very big dogs from the Insomniac universe has. So Miles would still be very easily able to outclass the likes of the Joker fairly easily, even in his Titan enhanced version. And it would just be him easily able to just kind of punch him to the point that he's able to knock him out without too much of a very big hassle. Or just, as again, use his Venom Blast to easily be able to knock him out and just make him not really useful for the rest of the entirety of the fight. this would be fairly easily and very quickly taken care of, along with a majority of the things that would happen in all of Arkham Asylum. So when it comes down to could Miles Morales survive the Arkham Asylum specific game, yes, fairly easily, because he is just that strong comparatively to anyone in the entirety of Arkham. It's just way too easy for him to be able to do. Mine is something like Scarecrow, which would be iffy in some circumstances, but fairly quickly handled in most others. But it's just one of those things that no matter what, he would be able to survive, because no one there is in the same level of strength that he is anywhere near. But please tell me what you guys think about this video in the comment section below. And if you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.